great conversations at Washington State University. My name is Marc Robinson, and I'm the director of the Culture and Heritage Houses. I'm here at WSU, and I'm joined by Sili, Savusa and Lina Thompson, who are both joining us as part of our series on educational opportunity gaps. Welcome to WSU.
Thank you.
If I can ask the first question, so you're both here as part of our series. Lynn Becerra has been organizing this for us. We're very pleased with our speakers. Happy to have the both of you. If you could maybe just talk a little bit about your experience working in the field of education and specifically working with youth.
So I am currently on the Governor's Commission to close the achievement gap, the educational opportunity gap. And then I also am on the Board of Trustees for Highland Community College in King County and South King County. I'm a former school board member. I'm a parent of two children who are in college and one who's just started high school. I've been a long-time community organizer around education issues relevant to Pacific Islander kids and kids of color for over 30 years. And so I've been really active and engaged around how do we help to reform education in a way that kids have more successful outcomes.
My name's Lina, and I work for World Vision. And basically, if you don't know much about World Vision, essentially we are a global organization that's committed to the well-being of children, especially those who are living in poverty. And so one of the ways that we at World Vision like to address those issues that impact kids who are living in poverty is to talk about the well-being of children and what do children need to grow up and to be healthy and thriving. And education is one of those things. And so for me personally, the organization that I work with is absolutely committed to young people being educated for life. And that's the work that I'm involved in. Specifically, this issue is close to home as a Pacific Islander. The work that I do locally in my own neighborhood with kids that are Pacific Islander students and trying to help them succeed and be able to achieve their fullest potential.
Great. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about specifically working with Pacific Islander communities and youth. Sometimes that's a group that is sometimes overlooked or, statistically gets lost in larger Asian Pacific Islander categories or those kinds of things. I guess talk about your experience working with that group and with the population and what the different kind of issues that particularly pertain to youth in those communities.
So probably over the last 10, 15 years, a lot of focus has been on this whole notion of disaggregation of data. So Pacific Islander youth are lumped in with the Asian population. And one of the reasons that the achievement gap has existed for so long is our kids are lumped with another population that have different outcomes in education. So we've done a lot of push at the state level and even at the national level on how do we get good data on our kids to really understand what's happening in education for Pacific Islander kids. So we've done a lot of organizing with Department of Ed in looking as they start to work across the country with like the Common Core. And we want to make sure that we're able to provide at a national level good data on what's happening here in Washington State on the number of Pacific Islander kids. Really look at those gaps that are there in the data. To start to put together strategies that will help to address some of those gaps. And so one of the things that we've been finding is because Pacific Islander populations are so small in so many districts across the state, they don't even count them. So there's another issue. So really, I think one of the things that I know that's always been on the forefront of my mind around organizing for Pacific Islander youth is how do I get a hold of good data? And how can we share data, accurate data with our higher ed institutions, K-12 system, to really, so we can design curriculum and instruction around the real gaps in education that kids are struggling.
Yeah, you specifically worked with youth and you recently had an event here in October and then going back last summer. Can you talk a little bit about that organization that you've been involved in these past years?
So one of the things that I've discovered, I've been a youth development practitioner for a really long time. And one of the things that I've discovered over the years is oftentimes we look at young people like they're the problem. And so we need to solve them because they're the problem. And one of the things that I believe and that World Vision believes is that young people are actually can be great allies and partners in their own development. So not looking at kids like they're problems, but actually they're partners in helping to solve issues, even community issues like education. And so what that's looked like for us in the last year and a half, this program that I've been involved in is really bringing the voice of Pacific Islander youth right into the conversation of their own education. What do they feel are the gaps? What do they feel are the things that need to be addressed? And really giving young people a place and a space to talk about, how they see their own education. So in the work that I've been doing with Sili, it's really been bringing young people into the process of conversations around the achievement gap, for instance, which has been very empowering for young people. One, because they're actually being given good information about what people are saying about them as a people. It's helping parents to understand what, this whole data disconnect, right? And then also tooling kids up to actually be active participants in any kind of change or reform that might happen, which is, it's actually them owning their own education. Because for many of our communities, and this goes without even, you take away the whole people of color thing, most people don't know that there's all these systems and decisions that are being made on behalf of them. And that's especially true for communities like ours. So my work, both with World Vision and then my work in my neighborhood with kids has been to elevate the experiences and the voice and the perspectives of young people. What that looked like last month was an education summit, Pacific Islander Education Summit, completely co-planned with some students and some adults. The workshops were led students and adults. The topics were students and adults. And it was a wonderful day. We built off the first summit, which was in 2012. And this second summit was really very youth-focused. Very empowering day. It gave a great message to our community about education. It was a real, in my opinion, a big win for our community around the conversations of education. It wasn't about why our kids are not making it, but it was really about giving them some, a kickstart into the school year and really helping them see that they, what it feels like to own their own process of education.
That's called Our Future Matters?
Well, the summit was called Uprise,
okay.
And the organization that was one of the partners in planning was Our Future Matters. There was another organization called Tautua, the White Center CEA. There was probably 5 or 6 different community-based organizations that were responsible for kind of anchoring the whole project. Which, if I might add, it's one of the things around education that I've learned specifically from hanging out with Sili, is that education is not just about what happens in the classroom. It really is about what happens, that education happens in the context of a community. So whatever's going on at that school, it has some kind of impact, positive or negative, in the neighborhood that school is in. So we work really hard to try to always set that context of the community so that when kids leave the classroom and they walk out into their neighborhood, they actually see some kind of connection.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of takes me to my next question. In terms of making those making those links between the community and what's happening in the classroom. We're at WSU, right, which has its own opportunities or maybe challenges, and making that connection, being that we're here in Eastern Washington. I guess talk a little bit about your day today and kind of what you've observed, or kind of what your thoughts have been as you've been meeting with students and faculty and staff here at WSU.
We had a great day. Lena would agree. We had a great day, and for this reason, somebody in this institution understands that in order for teaching to happen in a real way, we need to figure out how to get community voice into this process. And so that's how we ended up here. And Lynn Becerra, who understands and knows that when you're teaching to a child that comes from a diverse community, the community is a big partner in ensuring educational success for that student. So this whole series, the educational opportunity gap, I'm sure nobody else is doing it in the country. And I think I would hear about it if it was happening at another higher ed institution in Washington State. I think I would. Not that I know everything, but I like to know everything. So for me, that's the change that needs to happen. And one of the things that I would see that would help Wazoo grow and develop, and how does this help to elevate community voice? How do we build more partnerships and communities to recruit the population of students that come here? What are the barriers that need to be removed for students to access information about Wazoo? And just to raise the comfort level for students, and telling them you can do this. Everybody, this is your right to get a quality education. And these are one of the institutions that also believes the same thing, because there's partnerships with community that happens at Wazoo, albeit siloed. And I know, that was part of the conversation that took place today. But how do we all learn? How does Wazoo learn from this experience of the achievement gap opportunity? And so, working at a state level, working in K-12 and higher ed, the institutional piece is very siloed. I get that. But we're also individuals who are part of these systems that could be the voice for change and encourage, creativity. And we're not asking anybody to break rules. We're just saying, who's going to create the space to say, let's have this conversation. And so this is, for me, is one opportunity to be able to let that happen, which will have huge payoffs for the kids that attend this university. And so, and the other thing too for me, for the other kids who came to see us, it was like, all right, we're affirming their education that they're getting here. And they see, hey, people from my community came out here, and somebody really cares about us as students. So, how do we create that culture within Wazoo in the various levels and departments? Right. And I think there's potential there for this to really take off throughout the campuses.
Want to add anything to that?
So for me, it was a really great day. Being a WSU alum, I have a really special, obviously I have a very special, biased, view of what I believe about WSU. And I'm really thrilled to be able to come back and actually give back to my university in this way, and to be able to promote Washington State. I do it all the time, but it was really nice. It's I love it when any of our kids aspire to go to college, whatever college they go to, whatever higher ed. But there's a really cool thing that happens when kids decide that they want to come here. And so part of being able to be here was to support the kids that we know that are over here, 6 hours from home. And so it's fun to connect with them and to support them in person. That was really a wonderful thing. I think that for me, I, as an alum, I find myself often in conversations about WSU's commitment to students of color. Because I think people have a picture in their mind about what this place looks like because it's over here. And that's a barrier, the Cascade Range is a barrier. It's real. But I honestly feel like this is a very unique place for students of color to come because there is a community that can form that is very close-knit. We saw that today when we were at the multicultural office. It was really fun to walk in there. The place was packed with kids hanging out, doing homework, being on the computer, selling lumpia. It was really a cool community. And so for me to come here and to experience that and also to give back a little bit to this place was very special. I'm really, really, really proud and excited for the conversation that the Department of Education put on for this, because I know, sometimes that's not an easy topic, but, my hope is that the university will continue to, do things that might, not be, comfortable. And because one of the things that I did walk away from is my hope is that these conversations about how to train teachers happens before their fifth year, before they're, going off to graduate, because those kinds of conversations are important and they need to be part of their professional development. Now, once kids decide that they want to be a teacher, these conversations will be happening now, because our classrooms in the public school systems, in lots of cases, they're very global. Kids from all over the world, at least in our community, we've got kids from all over the world. So, I don't know what the curriculum like is as people enter into the education program here. I'm hoping that this is more than just an event that happens, once a quarter, but that it's a part of their training. So.
I think the really kind of powerful movement to be out here to talk about the achievement gap, and in looking at the other departments, but we're here specifically for the event, and to see the lack of students of color who are enrolled, but to go to another department that's where it's very diverse. I'm thinking, okay, what's wrong with this picture? And so, again, whatever I can do, and other partners who want to work with higher ed, how do we, again, help to support staff here to have that broader conversation, and again, do some silo busting here in Wazoo about our work, because we had said that everything about education is totally relevant if it's connected to community. And so this is one opportunity, this is one way the community can touch the work here in Wazoo, but it needs to happen everywhere, so that when it comes to the Department of Education, that kids of color are just busting down the doors to get in, and not just white kids. So, I just think there's so much potential here, as long as we have, the courage to, make some bold decisions, have courageous conversations and dialogue here on campus around the achievement gap. And that, no, it's not just about the Department of Education, it's all of us. And so I applaud the Department of Ed for opening this up and hopefully creating a path for broader conversation around achievement gap, because it exists everywhere.
One of the things that I've learned about the achievement gap, opportunity gap from Sili is, and I actually learned this from our kids, right? They believe that one of the ways to close the gaps is to address the training of teachers. Training of teachers, once they actually get a teaching job, the training starts here. It starts here when they decide, I want to be a teacher. So one of the ways that WSU or any institution can contribute to closing that gap is to integrate that kind of training. If that's what we've said will help close the gap, and not wait to train teachers once they get into a classroom and they're already in the traffic of teaching, but to do that in there as part of their education and development process, their training process.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of answered my final question already. I was going to ask about kind of what would be the take-home message, and it sounds like it's kind of taking what we're doing in this program today, interweaving that into all that we're doing in the College of Education across the university, making it ongoing, making it sustainable. That's kind of what I'm hearing. Maybe you want to add anything else, or?
No, because I think that's the culture you want to create ultimately.
Yeah.
Is this is an inclusive environment, regardless of what your major is that you choose. If you're going to come to Queens College here, to how great it would be for any student in the state to say, you know what, I'm going to go here because I know I'm going to get a quality education in sociology or education or science, STEM. So how do you create that culture is really how, again, it's elevating the voices of students, working with communities that, the Wazoo recruits from and draws from, and building real partnerships with families and communities across the state to make the learning here real, and to build partnerships that Wazoo needs to continue to be one of the major players of higher ed. So.
Okay. Any final comments? Well,
Go Cougs!
Go Cougs. Thank you both for coming to Washington State University. It's an honor to have you here in Pullman. Hopefully come back. I know you're an alum, so I'm sure we'll see you soon.
She'll be back.
But again, thank you for sharing your insights with us here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us!
If tomorrow never came, no night to follow day, and the moon ain't shining where it's supposed to be, whoa.